You're standing at the edge of a fire. It's 50,000 years ago. Someone beside you is dying, not sick, not wounded in a way that might heal. Dying. And in that moment, every survival instinct you have is telling you to leave, to move to the next camp, to find a group that isn't carrying the weight of a dying person into an uncertain future. To survive, you need to be practical. You need to be ruthless. And yet, your ancestors didn't leave, they stayed. Archaeologists have found evidence of this across burial sites spanning hundreds of thousands of years. Bodies that show signs of long-term care before death. Skeletons positioned carefully, intentionally, as if someone had decided this person mattered enough to be treated with reverence even after they stopped breathing. In pure evolutionary terms, this makes no sense. But it happened. It keeps happening. And the reason your brain is wired this way today might be the oldest story about what makes us human. Here's what we know. In the Shanidar Cave in Iraq, archaeologists discovered a Neanderthal skeleton dated to roughly 60,000 years ago. The skeleton belonged to an individual who had suffered multiple injuries over their lifetime. A withered arm, healed fractures, evidence of blindness in one eye. None of these injuries would have been survivable alone in the ancient world. Yet this person lived decades past the point where they should have died. Someone had to feed them. Someone had to protect them. Someone had to stay. But here's where it gets fascinating. Around this skeleton, researchers found pollen, specific flowers, yarrow, cornflower, hollyhock, flowers that don't grow naturally in caves. Flowers that someone had deliberately brought inside, not as food, not as fuel, as an act of care, possibly as a burial ritual, almost certainly as a gesture of meaning. Think about that moment. A person is dying. Resources are scarce. The group is vulnerable, and someone is spending time gathering flowers, not because it serves survival, because it serves something else entirely. Love, maybe, respect. The refusal to let someone disappear into death without acknowledgement. This pattern repeats across the archaeological record. At a site in France called La Chapelle-aux-Saints, another Neanderthal shows evidence of extended care before death, buried in a deliberately prepared grave. At Kafse in Israel, multiple skeletons show signs of intentional burial and long-term caregiving. What these discoveries suggest is that our ancestors didn't just tolerate dying people. They invested in them. They stayed. So why? Why would evolution build a brain capable of this? Why would natural selection favor the impulse to care for someone who cannot contribute to the group's survival? The answer lives in something neuroscientists call the attachment system. Your brain has neural networks dedicated to bonding with specific people. These networks don't evaluate cost-benefit ratios. They don't do the math on survival probability. They activate something deeper, something that overrides pure logic. When you're attached to someone, their pain becomes your pain. Their survival becomes your survival, at least in the way your nervous system processes it. Imagine watching someone you love slowly disappear. The person is still there, but they're fading. They can't hunt, can't gather, can't defend. By every measure of group survival, they've become a liability. Yet your brain isn't calculating liability. Your brain is doing something far more ancient. It's recognizing that this person exists in your neural map of what safety feels like. This person is woven into your sense of self. Letting them die without fighting would feel like dying yourself. Research on modern caregivers shows this same pattern. People who care for dying loved ones don't usually make rational choices. A woman stays with her husband through a degenerative disease even though it destroys her health. A son quits his job to sit with his mother in a hospital. A daughter moves back home to watch her father fade. None of these choices make logical sense. All of them make emotional sense. The attachment system overrides everything. And here's the psychological twist. This behavior probably wasn't advantageous to the individual. The person staying to care for a dying relative wasn't maximizing their own survival chances. But it was advantageous to the group, because a group in which members care for each other, even at personal cost, is a group with deeper trust, stronger bonds, more cohesion. That group survives longer than a group of individuals who abandon each other the moment the cost-benefit calculation turns negative. Evolution didn't select for individual efficiency. It selected for group stability. There's also something we might call the reciprocity circuit. Your brain keeps track, not consciously, but deeply. It knows who helped when things were hard. It knows who stayed. When your brain evaluates whether to invest in someone who's dying, it's not just running an economic calculation, it's asking a different question. Did this person matter to me? And if they did, do I matter to them? Will my children matter to them? In a world without hospitals, without medicines, without any safety net except other people, that reciprocal bond was everything. You stayed with someone because you knew that someday, when you were the one dying, Someone would stay with you. Ancient humans staying with the dying weren't ignoring survival. They were practicing the deepest form of survival strategy possible. They were saying, we are a we, and a we survives together. But there's another layer to this, something even older than attachment. It's what researchers call the caregiving system. Humans have a biological drive to care. It's not a luxury. It's not something we do when we have surplus resources. It's encoded in our nervous system at such a fundamental level that it overrides almost everything else. A parent will starve themselves to feed their child. A nurse will risk infection to comfort a patient. An ancient human will spend their last resources ensuring a dying person isn't alone. This isn't learned behavior. This isn't cultural. This is wired into us at the level of hormones, neural pathways, survival instincts that somehow decided that survival means more than just staying alive yourself. It means ensuring the people you love don't disappear alone into darkness. When archaeologists found those flowers in Shanidar Cave, they weren't finding evidence of symbolic thinking, though that's how it's often described. They were finding evidence of a choice to say, you mattered, you still matter, and I will mark the moment you leave with something beautiful. That choice has echoed through 60,000 years. Today, when you sit with someone dying, you're participating in something impossibly old. You're not breaking a logical rule about survival. You're following an even deeper rule, one that your species has been following since before we had language to describe it. A rule that says the measure of humanity isn't how efficiently you survive. It's whether you're willing to suffer with the people you love. Every ancient human who stayed with the dying was making a statement about what matters, not what keeps you alive, what makes you human. That's the inheritance in your nervous system. That's the ancient choice your ancestors made, over and over in caves and camps in the dark edge of fire. To stay, to witness, to refuse to let someone die alone. Not because it made logical sense, because love never does,